You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The folks at Black Voters Matter have been traveling all across South Carolina as well as the South, talking and engaging with black voters. They held a watch party on Tuesday night when the Democratic nominees were debating, but they also have been holding forums all across this state, Columbia and Charleston, to engage black voters to hear what they have to say. Here's our conversation. All right, Clip, glad to have you here. So let's talk about South Carolina, Black Voters Matter. You guys have been on the ground all across the country. What have you been hearing in South Carolina? What are the voters saying about the candidates, what they should be talking about, what they aren't talking about? What do they like that they're hearing? Just give me a perspective.
Yeah, you know, what we've been hearing is really you kind of got three camps, right? You kind of got the I don't care who it is, I just want whoever can beat Trump. You know, it's this whole electability narrative, which we've been arguing through this bus tour, is really a fear narrative, right? And so we've been talking about a campaign against that fear and the vote based on our issues. That's the second camp, that you do have folks that are really focused on the issues. They want to pick the one that best connects with them on their issues that they're most excited about. So you've got that whole camp. And then you've got the camp that's kind of like, I don't care who it is right now, right? Y'all go on and pick somebody. Let me know who it is, because in November, I'm going to vote for whoever's there. And that's going to be, you know, who I'm going to vote for. And so, you know, it kind of falls into those three categories. And it's really hard to tell, honestly, you know, where most of the energy is right now. But there are still a lot of people that are making our decisions, our preferences based off of how we think other folk are going to vote. And that's never been a winning strategy for us.
Also, Adrian Shropshire's group dropped their survey, which stated that African Americans, a third of them want somebody else running for president, and more than 50% said, these black folks they polled said that Democrats are not speaking to their issues. And in fact, Cornell Belcher, in responding to this story about how the Trump people are going to be creating these stores in black communities, selling Trump items with woke and things along those lines on them, which is like a joke. Well, this is what Cornell said. He said, crazy like a fox, we're seeing a segment of very low political information, younger black voters who protested their vote in 2016, who see no important difference between the parties, who are malleable to some of his messaging. If he gets to them first, it's going to be a big problem for Dems. Yeah. He then said they only need a couple of more points out of these communities. And I'm telling you right now, Dems' lack of communicating and engagement with a segment of the more low info and disgruntled black electorate is a problem. Seeing it in focus groups across the country.
Yeah. No.
Are you seeing that and hearing that?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And that's part of the reason why we're really emphasizing that there's got to be more discussion on our issues and not just the kind of political gamesmanship. At the end of the day, the leading candidate right now for the black vote isn't Biden and it's not Sanders. It's that population that Cornell was talking about. It's the folks that aren't engaged because none of y'all are talking about what I want to hear. And so that's why on this bus tour, you know, media is always asking us like, you know, oh, which candidates are they talking about? And we tell them, we're going to communities talking about folks' issues, the things that they're dealing with daily. Like when we were in Gadsden Green here in Charleston, you know, talking about issues about the flooding that they go through. They live in a community that's like a bowl, much like New Orleans, so that when it rains, you know, it's like a soup bowl. And so we were talking about that there. We were in Columbia yesterday talking about a community. There's a housing community there where 400 people were displaced because of housing and carbon monoxide poisoning, toxic carbon monoxide. And so you got an entire neighborhood that was displaced, which caused all kinds of ripple reactions. You know, we got communities where we've gone and we've been talking about criminal justice. And so those are the things that folks really want to hear more about and connect it to their daily lives. That's the only way you're going to get to that population that Cornell's talking about, the ones that right now aren't hearing what they want to hear. And then you get that message from Trump. And the way that they're targeting it, and he's right, and you and I have talked about this, and even there's some gender targeting going on there,
Hmm.
right? The way that they're targeting it, if they get that 2, 3, whatever, he knows he's not getting a majority. He
Right.
knows he's not getting 20% of the black vote. But if they can increase it up to 13, 14, 15%, we're particularly in particular states, then we're in dangerous territory.
And that's why I was extremely frustrated with Tuesday's debate.
Mm,
I was in the room. My problem is that it was a debate sponsored by the Congressional Black Caucus Institute.
mm,
I said before the debate that black folks should be centered in the entire
mm,
debate.
mm,
I felt they weren't.
yeah.
I said, how can you have discussions regarding China, North Korea, Syria, and
Mm,
all of these, Russia,
yeah.
but you have no mention of Africa, no
Right.
mention of 7 out of the 10 fastest growing economies in Africa, no
Right.
mention of Trump keeping Nigerians out of the country,
Right.
no mention of him calling African nations shithole countries, no mention of any of these things. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell is the point of having a CBC Institute debate if you're not going to have black folks centered? It was, of course, on CBS, but it was simulcast on BET. But none of the BET news people were moderators asking questions as well. And people got mad at me, like somebody who actually writes for The Root. And I'm like, so you're a black targeted website and you're mad at me because I called out black networks for not coming together. And this is exactly what I said. I said the 8 black targeted and owned networks should have come together and said, all right, we're gonna put in 50 grand each to hire a company, and we're gonna control the debate, and we're gonna simulcast it on BT, BT Her, TV One, Clio, Aspire, Bounce,
Right.
Own, and Revolt.
Right.
I said, you do that, you're reaching black people,
That's right.
and that's why I said that.
Right. The problem with that, it's like the saying that we have in our community role, and that would be too much like right. And so, that's why you get it pushback. That's just too much like right. If we're not going to center our issues, who will? At the end of the day. And that's the argument that we're making. This entire discussion, this entire primary is really coming out of a framework that is white led, and the media. Every time there's a national poll showing the way the entire country is thinking about these candidates, that's shaping our thinking. Every black person right here in South Carolina, regardless of who they were leaning for, every time they see one of those polls, it forces them to think about, what other people are thinking.
Right.
And so we've got to be willing, we've got to have the audacity to actually center our issues, to do so through our media outlets, as you pointed out, and to do so unapologetically. We've got to believe that we can drive the electability discussion, because at the end of the day, it's always been us, through our love, through our hope and faith. It's always been us that have pushed this country closer to becoming a democracy that it thinks it is, that it's never been, but that it thinks it is, right? And so in this moment, this critical moment, if we're not willing to center our issues, then who will?
And look, the reality is, if you look at since 1964, no Democratic candidate has received more than 39% of the white vote. Not
That's right.
one.
That's right.
And now what I do say to people to get them to understand how it is a matter of how white folks are thinking, operating. If you look at the fact that in the last election, 71% of the total electorate were white voters.
That's right.
And what I keep saying to black people, that makes it even more a reason why we can't have in Alabama 900,000 unregistered people, but 500,000 of the 900,000 are black. You
Right.
can't have 250,000 unregistered black people in South Carolina. You
Right.
can't have, look, Mike Espy only lost to Cindy Hyde Smith by 68,000 votes. If
Right.
black people had actually voted their numbers, Espy is a United States Senator.
Right. That's right. Yeah, and which raises another issue, right? That we can't, and again, going back to the debate, it's disappointing that there wasn't more discussion about voter suppression. We really can't continue to engage in these discussions without giving that more serious attention, and all of the forms that it's taking. And so, whether that's the voter purges. I mean, just a couple of months ago, we saw in 2 states, in Georgia and Wisconsin, where just in a single day, in like a 24-hour period, 500,000 voters were purged
Right.
from these lists. right? So we can't continue to act like it's the most under talked about issue that came out of the 2016 election. People want to know why was turnout lower and why this and why that, and everybody was acting like it wasn't the first presidential election since the
Oh,
gun and
look,
control
dude,
election.
2012,
Mm-hmm.
CNN does a documentary
Mm-hmm.
on voter suppression. It
Right.
runs in October. I'm like,
Mm.
yo, do y'all understand? We should have, because first of all, I had been writing them, dude,
Yeah.
earlier. I said, this should have been done in 11 or in January 2012 before registration ended.
Right.
It's like I said, doing it in October is kind of late.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, because we tend to think about the voter suppression issue and the election protection as being an election day issue. But the suppression takes place all throughout the year, right? It means decisions around which polling place is going to be closed. You and I talked before about all the thousands of polling places that have been closed
More
since the
than
gun control.
1,200 in the South since the Shelby v. Holder decision.
That's right. That's right. Those decisions take place all throughout the year. That's not just an election day issue, right? That's taking place all throughout the year. Decisions around early voting and cutting early voting hours and where the polling place is going to be located. Like all of these decisions, all the full spectrum of suppression takes place all throughout the year, not just on election day. So as you said, people will wait and do an October documentary or run a program or put some
Mm-hmm.
resources into it, a week before election day because they're thinking about election day suppression. But it's a process that takes place
Right,
all throughout the year, and we've got to support the groups that are dealing with this, that are
right,
educating communities. You know the organizations that do an incredible job: Legal Defense Fund, Advancement Project,
right,
Lawyers Committee. They need more support. So that when we identify and amplify these issues that we run up against in every state that we go to,
right.
particularly rural counties, the groups that have the legal resources and the expertise to deal with it, they need more support. So it's not even just supporting about my group, right? It's about supporting all of the groups that are trying to deal with this issue, which again can really define this election.
Speaking of that, last question for you on that particular point. We got to deal with funding. What
Yes.
historically has happened is that to reach black folks have waited for the Democratic nominee,
Yeah.
and then a paltry amount of money is put towards black organizations. Your
Right.
group is a nonpartisan group. Are you seeing African Americans funding our own efforts? I said after 16. I remember Bob Johnson was I had him on my show, and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I said, black folks have got to fund our own voter initiatives where we control the money because we know exactly best where it goes, not hoping that some white consultant will say, well, no, we're going to put the money over here when we know what's happening on the ground. Are you seeing African Americans willing to put their money where their mouths are to fund groups like yours and others so we have real black voter engagement and we're not having the same conversation? Oh, y'all not doing this, not doing that.
All right, we're seeing a little bit of it, in at different levels. You've got groups like the Black Economic Alliance, which is really tried to reach out to high net worth Black folks and who are interested in these issues, and they've targeted races in the past couple of election cycles. So you've got organizations like that. We get some individual support from all levels, like small donors. In fact, one of the most moving things, one of the reasons we even decided to continue our bus tours after the very first one was because somebody who was on the tour was so moved by it that she wrote out a check for us right there and then.
Wow.
And we were like, no, we can't take this. We don't do this to get money from the folks that we work with, right? We're doing it, to help amplify. And her point was, we all own this. Like this is for all of us. This is an investment in us,
Yep.
and it really even changed the way that we were thinking about how we go about things. And so we've seen it at different levels, but to your point, it's not enough. Like we need more. We need more of the high net worth folks, whether that be athletes and entertainers or even black folks that are in health and technology. We need more of our community really supporting our efforts because again, if we're not going to fund it, if we're
Yep.
not going to focus us, who will?
Where can folks give to support what y'all doing?
Yeah, no, definitely. We've been blessed by just the grassroots support that we get because people get moved, because when we go to communities where they don't ever see a campaign bus,
Right.
they see a big old black bus come rolling through their community, like literally, we've seen people be brought to tears. So it's just been, I'm just really glad to have been a part of this process of starting this process, but really just kind of going off of the great feelings of love and energy that we get everywhere we go. So it's really been an incredible experience for
What's
us.
what's the site?
What's the
What's that? So somebody wants to give.
Yeah, you can go to blackvotersmatterfund.org. Black Voters with an S, matterfund.org. And you can follow us on social media, Black Voters MTR. Black Voters MTR is Facebook, Twitter, and Insta.
All right, Cliff Albright. I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Roland.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, are you looking to enhance your leadership or that of your team in 2020? Well, you should join Dr. Jackie Martin for her newest online course and mastermind group, How Successful People Think. She'll be your guide as you learn timeless leadership principles to apply to daily living. The offer expires on February 28th. That's this week. So register for or start the online course today. Go to www.livetolead.com/Leesburg. Live, L-I-V-E, the number 2, LEAD.com/Leesburg. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.